Makes a bucket and a foul. Breakaway. Io.
Oh, meet me at the rim and don't be late.
Give me the hot sauce. Did you not get the memo? Derrick Rose can go upstairs. Oh, he's got Gimme. The steal. Wait for the lead. Yeah.
Big time plays. Big time plays.
Gimme for the win. Go!
Oh, my God. I cannot believe this.
Improbable.
Hey, everybody. The NBA season is finally arrived. Stacey King ready to go. He's joining us from his home in beautiful Oak Park River Forest. Stacey, I know you got through the preseason okay, but now we start for real on Wednesday. And unfortunately, some bad news on Monday with Coby White being pushed back a couple of weeks. They're saying Billy Donovan said after practice that he experienced some tightness after going 5-on-5 on Saturday. So just for precautions, they want to ramp up his conditioning, and he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. I know that's a small part of the season, but still it's disappointing to not have your leading scorer from day one.
Well, it just almost seems like the basketball gods are punishing the Bulls for whatever reason. It seems like we always have these injuries going into the season. Going back as far as Derrick Rose days. You lose Zach Collins with a wrist injury going into the season. He had such a phenomenal preseason that you expected him to be a major factor in this team's success this year, and he'll be shelved for a period of time. And then your leading scorer, the guy that you expect to take another huge leap this year, maybe make the All-Star team, in Coby White. So right now, I'm not starting off with a good on a good note, but this team is deep. They got a lot of guys, and let's see what happens.
Specifically on Coby, we talked about it after media day that he's got to protect his own interests because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next summer. Do you think that maybe that's slowing down the process of getting him back on the court?
No, I think Coby's a genuine guy. If he's hurt, he's hurt. I think you do have to be careful if you're Coby. But you've seen what's happened over the last few years, Mark. Guys who've had these calf strains, knock on wood, have all ended up having Achilles tears. So, if you're Coby, if you're the team, if you're Coby's agent, you take this into consideration. Like, hey, we got to, protect this kid and make sure that doesn't happen to him. Because that's the last thing you want, for him to come back. And then all of a sudden now that calf strain goes into an Achilles tear because he's not 100% healthy in his calf. And all that correlates together. It all is connected. So you got to be very, very careful with that. I think the Bulls are doing right by, putting him on the shelf for a couple more weeks, let him heal up, get treatment, and to make sure he's 100% ready to go.
The good thing is that the Bulls are very deep at the guard position. I mean, we both talked about the fact that Tre Jones and Ayo Dosunmu have looked fantastic. Ayo, especially in the preseason, has been really good coming back from that shoulder injury. They can cover for Coby short term, and I think that Billy Donovan has a lot of options at that backcourt position. You think they'll be able to hit the ground running in terms of being deep enough in the backcourt?
Oh, most definitely. I think both, Tre Jones and Ayo bring the same kind of mental attitude that they're going to come in and do whatever the team needs. Ayo's been in every kind of role you could be on this team, from a starter to, bench player coming off the bench, a role player, to playing the point guard, two guard, small forward positions. He's one of the better, defenders on the team. And he brings toughness, and he's had a phenomenal preseason. Coming back, bouncing back from that shoulder injury has been remarkable with the way he's played in preseason. So you got to be really ecstatic with the way he's going into the season. And then Tre Jones, I mean, he's a consummate pro. I mean, that was a great signing. A lot of people are not talking about the Bulls bringing him back. But here you are now with Coby White going out and being out the first 2 weeks of the season. You've got a really more than capable guard coming in that can play that position. You got Kevin Huerter that can give you some depth at the guard position. So the Bulls are not hurting with the depth that they have behind Coby White. You just wish Coby White was healthy, and because you want the Bulls to get off to a good start. And having a healthy Zach Collins and Coby would have been really, really nice going into the start of this game against a rival, the Detroit Pistons, on Wednesday.
And let's not forget the veteran Javon Carter. He looked like Steph Curry in the preseason. He was jacking up those threes every time he hit the floor. I think he was the Bulls' second leading scorer during the preseason. It's funny. He signed that 3-year contract and people forgot about him, but he's a professional. He stays ready, and I guess now with Coby out, he'll probably get some minutes early in the year.
Well, Mark, it's funny because, we call him instant offense, but that's not his MO. he's a defensive guard. He's a guard to get you in your offense, and he can score. But he's been forced in his tenure here with the Bulls to have to try to make the most of whatever minutes he gets. He's had inconsistent minutes. He hasn't been in the rotation. But one thing about Javon Carter, he's a consummate pro. Whenever his number has been called to come out and produce, there's in games, we saw in Oklahoma City where the Bulls were down by 30, and he came out and just went on a scoring streak and at least made the game respectable. They know what he can do, and so he knows what he can do, but he also knows in preseason that, he's playing not only for his future here, but maybe somewhere else. Maybe someone else for other teams forgot how much of an impact he can make coming off your bench. And so he's playing at a higher level and he's getting consistent minutes. And when you get consistent minutes, Mark, I've always said you get consistent play.
You mentioned Zach Collins at the start of the show, and that was really a tough break because he looked like he was set up to maybe not move into the starting lineup, but to get major minutes at both the center and power forward positions. And then in the last preseason games, he gets a fractured wrist while taking a charge. I guess you don't do that in preseason games. He winds up getting hurt. Now he's going to be gone, probably for about 6 weeks.
Well, it's unfortunate because that was one of the areas the Bulls felt like they had to get better at. The team has to get tougher. They have to be willing to manufacture turnovers. You get turnovers by taking charges. They are one of the worst teams in the league in taking charges the last couple of years. And Billy and his coaching staff have really been imploring these guys to give their body up, take the charge. And they've been doing it in preseason. Sometimes the call goes for them. Sometimes it goes against them. Zach Collins was able to take that charge that night, but the way he fell, he hurt his wrist and he kept playing. He didn't think it was broken. He was going to keep going. And then they just did a routine x-ray and found out that he had that fracture. And it really hurts because I thought he really established himself as, if not a starter, to play major minutes coming off the bench. You go back to last year, if Vooch doesn't get hurt, we probably don't see Zach Collins. Zach Collins was able to come in. Vooch was out. They played Jalen Smith a lot more than they did Zach when he first came over for the trade. It was almost like he was an afterthought. And then Vooch gets hurt and he goes out and puts like double numbers up and forces the coaching staff like, hey, this guy can play. And what people don't remember about Zach Collins is that Zach Collins has played many roles in the NBA. Okay. He's a big time player at Gonzaga. He's been a starter in this league. He's been, a guy coming off the bench. He's played roles. But one thing about him, he's a tough kid. He rebounds the basketball and he's a legit back to the basket guy that can shoot threes. He knows his strength mark are in the post. He'll spend 80% of his time trying to post up offensive rebound. He will shoot the three on a pick and pop situation if it's open, but he's a post up player first, which is very, very refreshing when you see how bigs are playing now. Those guys have kind of forgotten what it's like to have their back to the basket. And he's one guy that seems like an old school 90s basketball player. Give me the ball in the post, mismatch. I got a guard on me. I'm going to punish him. And I like that about Zach.
Yeah, and the funny thing is now that the big man is back in the NBA, so many teams are turning to more traditional lineups. Did you see the lineup that Houston's going to run out on opening night?
Yeah, you know what? They'll get ran out of the gym.
I mean, they're talking about playing Steven Adams and Şengün, Durant, Jabari Smith with Amen Thompson as the point guard. I mean, it's a huge lineup.
That's a lineup, Mark, you can put in certain situations if you want to go zone. You could steal some minutes with that lineup. You can rebound very well out of that lineup. But Steven Adams is not going to be able to score. Şengün is more comfortable with his back to the basket, which those two don't complement each other because both Steven Adams and Şengün want to be in the post. So you've got to have a traditional big, a stretch four like Kevin Durant, who doesn't need to be in the post, that frees up Şengün to do what he needs to do and score in the post with his back to the basket.
Yeah, the big man is back. We're seeing the Twin
Towers.
It is back,
though. I mean,
all over the league.
Yeah, most teams because it's back because Denver didn't win back-to-back championships.
Yeah.
Had they won back-to-back championships, teams would have been forced to get bigger earlier. But because Oklahoma City was still able to win, and if you really technically think about it, Oklahoma City won with two bigs. You had Hartenstein, and then you got Chet. Both those kids are 7 feet tall. Right. So they play with 2 7-footers. So that means the league is now trending back towards that. Cleveland, you got Mobley and you got Allen, 2 big 6'11" kids that are playing the 4 and the 5 position. Porzingis and Johnson in Atlanta will be 2 big. I mean, it's starting to transition back to normal basketball where teams
Right.
they'll still be shooting threes, Mark. Don't get me wrong. But you also see, the big guys be able to post up a little bit more, gives you offensive rebound. That's why I'm so glad that the Bulls have options, because before the Bulls would trot out 4 guards. You're not going to beat teams in the NBA playing 4 guards. You can get away with it for a little bit, stretches of the game. But when it comes to rebounding, second chance opportunities, that's where you're getting beat at, because their team is sending a 6'10" guy against your 6'4" guy trying to box him out. And it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and Billy was using some 2 big lineups during the
Yes.
preseason. Jalen Smith was getting some time at the 4. Now he's going to be, the backup center, so that's where he'll get most of his minutes. But do you think that we might see some lineups with a Senge or Modas or even Patrick Williams playing the 5?
And you have opportunity to go small, because you can play Modest. You can play Modest in there at the 5. You want to go a small, quick lineup. Let's just say Billy has options. And, let's just hope that he doesn't abandon the big thing, because like so far in Billy's, NBA career here in Chicago, he hasn't had the option of playing bigs, 2 legitimate bigs. He's always been guard dominant. The guards have always, you had Adam, you had Alex Caruso playing power forward, guarding Giannis. And even though
Right.
we know he can do that, you don't want to have to do that for 82 games. And now he's got 3 bigs that he can rotate in and out in Vooch, Collins, and Smith. And you can also throw in Patrick Williams, Modest, and Senge. That's 5 or 6 guys that you got that are 6'9" or bigger.
The other injury news last week, I was working over at Channel 7, and I got a release that Yuki Kawamura had been released, and
Oh,
I'm like, why would you cut Yuki? But then we found out that he had this lower leg injury that apparently is going to keep him out for a while, and the Bulls needed another body, so they signed this forward, Trenton Flowers, a 6'9" guy, to a 2-way deal. They needed a roster spot. But Yuki, I guess, is still at the Advocate Center working out, rehabbing. I guess they'll bring him back when he's ready to go. But that was a blow. He was going to be the star of the show in Windy City, and now he's
yeah.
going to be out for a while.
Well, I mean, listen, the kid's an NBA player. I don't care what anybody says. The only thing that holds him back, and I think where people judge him, Mark, is his height. He's small, but you know what? Muggsy Bogues played in this league when there was a league full of giants, and he made a career. Spud Webb made a career out of it. Look at Peyton Pritchard in Boston. He's barely 6 feet tall, and he can play in this league. So there's a place for a guy if you can compete, and you can, as a point guard, you can defend, which Yuki can. You can run a team, which Yuki can. He can shoot. He can make shots. He can do all the things you need him to do. I think, but if you can just gloss over the fact that, overlook that he's not 6'2", 6'3", I think teams have a hard time looking at that. They're going, well, he's just so little, and he's going to get matchups taken advantage. That's why you scheme a defense to help him when he's out there if he gets posted up. You have schemes and you have traps and you have different things that you put in your arsenal when he's on the floor. It's not that hard. I mean, if Steph Curry, who's 6'3", and Steph Curry is not known as a defensive player. Golden State has hid Steph Curry's whole career because he gets taken advantage of, and he's 6'3". So if Golden State's able to hide Steph Curry from playing defense, you can hide Yuki. Yuki's, I think, he's a willing defensive player. He gets out there and competes. I hope he makes it. I believe he's got a place in this league, whether it's with the Bulls or somewhere else. The kid is special. He makes plays. He sees the court. He makes his teammates better, and his teammates everywhere he's gone loves him.
And the Bulls also were doing some roster maneuvering over the weekend, too, to try to get Mac McClung on their G League team. They signed him and then waived him, which teams are doing around the league. What that means is it makes the player eligible for an $80,000 bonus if they stay with the G League team for a certain amount of time. So conceivably, the Windy City Bulls could have Yuki, Mac McClung, Noah Senge playing some games. They also got Kevin Knox to play on their G League team. It's going to be interesting to watch that squad this year.
Well, it's sooner or later, Mark, teams have got to give Matt McClung a legit chance to see if he can make the league. For whatever reason, he's not been able to stick, but he clearly dominates at the G League level. And it's time for teams now to get over the fact that, he's not 6'6",
Right.
That he's just not a dunker and a tremendous athlete. You got to give him a chance. You got to see what he can do. Give him a contract for a year. See what he can do. He's dominated the G League, so he's proven that he can play the professional level. So it's time to give him a chance. Kevin Knox, former lottery pick,
Right.
Kentucky player who came in this league as a excellent shooter candidate, a guy that could knock down NBA threes, hasn't been able to find his confidence, hadn't been able to find a rhythm, a place where he can actually call home. He's had some bright spots here and there. He's shown you potential. He's got good size. He's 6'7". He can shoot the basketball, but for whatever reason, I couldn't tell you why he hasn't stuck in the league. I mean, you go down and look at those kids, his size and his pedigree, they're in the league.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. The league starts on Tuesday with a pair of games. There'll be a ring night in Oklahoma City. They host the Houston Rockets. So the Rockets could be one of the main contenders in the West. And then the Warriors and the Lakers are in the second game. Looking at the West, Stacey, who do you like to challenge Oklahoma City out there?
Denver. I think Denver is like the most serious threat, and I think Houston is right on the outside. Those two teams have what it takes to beat them. Jokic took him to 7 games last year. If Oklahoma City doesn't have home court game on the 7th, that's why you play to win the games in the regular season, Mark. So when you have to get to a 7th game in the playoffs, it's playing in your arena. And they got a 7 game with Denver, and that was a hell of a series. I mean, Denver, if you look at Denver last year, Denver was only missing a bench. They fired their coach midway through the season. They really go in with a young coach, no experience. Jokic was seen most of the time on the bench coaching. He's drawing up plays. He had to do other things besides focus on being a basketball player, and which showed you his high basketball IQ and what he can do if he really wanted to go that route, and he almost got them to the finals.
Yeah.
If they had the bench they got now, the bench they went out and got now, they got a backup for him, a legit backup. They used DeAndre Jordan for years, but DeAndre Jordan was just more as a veteran presence on that team, even for Jokic, a guy that's been around, that is going to be good in the locker room, but really didn't give you the minutes and give you playing time to rest your superstar player, Jokic. They got a starter that's been a starter in this league his whole career, Jonas Valanciunas.
Right.
It was a legit starter in this league. They got him coming off the bench now, and he will play about 25 minutes a game, which now you're able to rest Jokic in critical games, and he can be fresh at the end of the year. They went and got Bruce Brown back, who was a member of their first championship. They went out and got Tim Hardaway Jr., who's an excellent shooter, excellent guy coming off your bench to give you instant offense, and he defends. Then they went out and traded Michael Porter Jr., who started to not like his role in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, he's a guy that wants the game to be about him. He wants to be the star. He's been a star his whole life, and it's been really hard for him to come to a team like Denver and be behind Jokic and Murray. He doesn't want to be the third wheel. Denver recognized that. They're going to have to pay him a lot of money. He was going to be unhappy. So trade him, go get Cam Johnson, who's younger, who doesn't mind being the third wheel. He doesn't mind if he's the fourth wheel. He just wants to win. He's a good shooter. He's probably a better defensive player than Michael Porter Jr. And he's a legit two-way player at 6'8". So they upgraded their whole team. Plus, you still got young Christian Brown there, who's now an experienced veteran. He's got some years under his belt as a starter. You got Peyton Watson, who they're playing a lot. Got good size, 6'6", can play multiple positions. So they are a much more equipped team this year going into this season than they were last year. And what they did last year wasn't bad.
Well, we know that Father Time is undefeated, and we had news in the last week that LeBron James is going to be out until mid-November with that sciatica condition that's causing some numbness in his leg. He is working out with the Lakers, and they're just going to be slow in ramping him back up. Stacey, I've got Luka Doncic as my preseason MVP choice. I think he's going to have an incredible year, especially with LeBron taking it slow to start the year. What do you think about the Lakers now as they transition from being a LeBron team to a Luka team?
Well, I think the transition started last year, so it's not something new. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see LeBron not showing up at team meetings, not doing the things, missing training camp. LeBron's in one of those situations right now. Like, if you don't want to play in preseason, you don't have to play in preseason. You're 40 years old. We already know what you can do. They pretty much they should just came out from the very get-go and just said he's not going to be
Yeah.
part of preseason. He's going to practice, but we're going to hold him out for the regular season. They didn't do that. And now it looks bad on LeBron because they see you dancing, on videos, you're at concerts, you're playing golf. You got sciatic nerve problem. You ain't playing golf. You ain't playing 36 holes of golf. That just ain't going to happen. And I'm not saying he's not hurt, but it doesn't look good when they see you doing other things and not on the basketball court. Again, it'd just been better if they just said we're going to hold him out to the first game. He doesn't need. He's an all-time great. He doesn't need to be in training camp. We're happy we're going. Luka's here. Boom, boom. Luka's in better shape. I think what LeBron is doing is seeing what kind of start they get off to. So if the Lakers get off to how many games he's supposed to miss?
They're saying probably about 11 or 12.
Okay, let's just say the Lakers go 9-2 without him. Now you're gonna see. Nope, I got to get back now. You might see him back if they go 5-0.
Yeah,
he might come back sooner. Oh, I feel a lot better. I'm coming back now. But if they don't, let's just say they're on the other side of that mark and they go, 2-9.
Yeah. Oh, it still hurts.
Yeah. Now what it looks like now is so you can't win without me.
Right.
You guys got to start 11 games. You can't win without me. And he's really mad that they didn't offer him a contract extension like Kevin Durant got in Houston.
Yeah.
He didn't get that because I think the Lakers are slowly trying to move away from him and, position themselves for Luka and to build around Luka because realistically, it's hard to build, even though as great as LeBron is still playing at a high level, you don't know how many more years he actually is going to be able to play at that level.
Yeah.
So you got a kid now who's 25 years old. He's a true superstar, okay? We got to start building around him and putting the players necessary for when LeBron does leave in the next year or two, that we have to position ourselves to be in a transition year where we're not transitioning being a team that's like a top 3 team to a lottery-based team. We want to still be in the mix with Luka when the keys are finally passed over to him.
Who would you pick for your preseason MVP choice?
Ooh, that's going to be tough. Jokic is always going to be there. He's always floating around. He easily could have won last year. I think with the way Oklahoma City started and how they were the best team all year, and Shai Gilgeous was the most important, vital piece to that. I think that's the reason why he won. But it easily could have went to Jokic because his numbers were even better than the previous All-Star. The previous MVP awards that he got. And then also taking that team who wasn't considered like a top, they weren't considered like a team to win the championship. They were a team considered, they can go to second round with the team because they had no depth. And you didn't know what Murray was going to do. He missed a lot of games last year. So Jokic put that team on his back and carried them. So I think he's got to be one of the favorites. I think if you look in the Eastern Conference, depending on how well they play, if the Knicks can play to the level that they played at last year, you're going to hear Brunson's name in there. You'll hear Karl Anthony Towns' name in there. I think both those guys will still vote, so it will hurt both their causes.
Right.
But I
what about Giannis if Milwaukee has a 48-50 win season?
Oh, Giannis is
going to be handling the ball a lot this year.
Giannis is another name that's always an MVP. If you had the top 5 guys, MVP base guys, him and Jokic is always going to be in there because they've been the most consistent players over the last 5 years when it comes to MVP. You also got to remember you got Joel Embiid popping back in. Is he motivated after being out for so long? Is he still hungry? Does he still want to show that he's the top player in this league? If Philadelphia gets off to a good start, I don't know. I know Paul George has got some injury concerns with him.
Right.
If they don't get off to a good start, they should be thinking, honestly, with the team they have, they should be talking about, hey, we can come out of the East. No one's talking about Philadelphia.
Right.
Because everyone's like, well, they're not going to be able to, they're not going anywhere because their guys are going to miss most of the season with injury anyway. They have to prove to everybody that they're legit. And they could be a team that could sneak into the finals next year if Embiid stays healthy, Paul George stays healthy. It looks like VJ Edgecombe is the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of good young players who got a lot of experience last year.
And McCain is back as a shooter.
Yes. So they got a really good, when everyone's there, they got a legitimate title team, a team that can get to the finals. So I wouldn't be surprised you don't see Embiid if they are up there and he's taking them. I wouldn't be surprised you don't see Jaylen Brown in Boston. Boston won't be as strong as they've been without Tatum. But let's just say they're a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference, and Jaylen Brown is playing at a high level. You got to consider him as well.
Who would you consider to be a surprise team, either conference that maybe wasn't that good last year, but might be poised to make a big jump this year?
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta. I think Atlanta is the team, Mark, no one's really talking about. They have the potential. They get Jalen Johnson back, who was a big loss for them last year with that injury. He brings you size, athleticism. I consider him like a Paulo Banchero kind of like player. He's that kind of player. Paulo, he handles the ball a little bit more than Jalen Johnson, but as far as the impact of what he does to his team, he's huge. You bring Porzingis there, Porzingis gives him size. He's going to have fun playing with Trae Young, because Trae Young is one of the best alley-oop throwers in the game, if he's not the best. He sets his teammates up because he demands so much attention on that pick and roll. I mean, look at the career that Capella had there. Capella got a big contract because of Trae. All the bigs, Okonwu, all these guys, they're eating off of Trae. And Trae gets a bad rep because, he's a guy that scores 27 points a game. They don't really look at all the things he does to make his team better. I mean, the guy is one of the top guys in the NBA in assists every year.
Yes, he is.
You know what I'm saying? So he's not just scoring. He's giving up the ball. I think with Trae, what you've seen with Trae now, he's had a baby, he's married. He's now realized, like, hey, this is more about what we can do more so than what I can do. I think early on when he first got in this league, he had a chip on his shoulder. He wanted to show everybody he belonged. He wanted to show everybody he's a great player, and he did that. Now it's like, okay, but I did it that way and I wasn't winning. I want to win. I'm tired of watching the playoffs on TV. I'm tired of watching guys I've given 30 to playing in the playoffs. How do I get myself and my team positioned to be a team that everybody's talking about? And I think by midseason, a lot of people are going to be talking about Atlanta.
In terms of some of the other awards, Modas Buzelis has already said he wants to win the Most Improved Player award, and Modas was a revelation in the preseason, the way he was attacking the rim. And you had the one great call where you're saying, Modas, don't show him everything in the preseason, because he was going crossing over, he was going left hand, right hand. I mean, he's pushing the ball in transition. He looks like, a guy who's 21 years old. I mean, I don't want to overstate it, but he looks like he could be a future All-Star on this team.
You know what? It's early in his career. This will be his first full season as a starter. Okay. So you gotta kind of temper it a little bit, but the small sample that we've seen from this kid, it does show you that he has all-star potential.
Mm-hmm.
You don't question his work ethic. You don't question his hunger and his desire. And what he does now that's so appealing, if you're a Bulls fan, or you're a purist of basketball, is what you like about the kid is that he competes. He competes every night. He plays on both ends. He's going to rebound and block shots. He's going to be where he's supposed to be on help defense. He's improved his three-point shooting. He's still not where he wants to be, but he's a much more threat now. Because in the regular season, Mark, what you're going to find out about him and what he's going to see. Preseason is preseason. When you start the regular season, you're on everybody's scouting report.
Especially with Kobe out.
Focused. Yeah, you're going to
get a lot of defensive attention.
Yes. So what he's going to see in the first part of the season is they're going to be teams backing off of him. They're going to say, you got to make a couple jumpers before we get out there on you. Yeah. And he's going to have to knock down shots. And if he knocks down those shots, now he becomes unguardable because he's got the ability to put the floor on. And he's been going. What's impressed me is he's right hand dominant, but he's been able to work on his left hand, where now he goes to the left just as good as he goes to the right. So how do you guard that at 6'10"? How do you guard a guy like that who can jab step one way and then go the opposite hand and be able to get to the rim and either dunk on you with the left or finger roll it with the left? That is a all-star caliber player that's done that. And he has done that. And now you get a consistent jump shot, Mark. How do you guard him?
Hey, remember,
you can't lay off of him now because he can knock down a three. So I got to push up on him. But if I push up on him, he's quick enough to go by me and dunk on me in 2 dribbles. So how do you stop that? So the only where I see him getting better is, consistently hitting the jump shot. And as he continues to grow in his body, his body, he still got a kid's body. He still got a young kid's body, okay? If you right now, he would be a college sophomore right now. You don't start getting your man body until your junior year and senior year in college. And then even when you come from college to the pros, you still ain't got your man body yet. You still got to work and get in the weight room as a pro to get the final product of how you're going to look. So he still got his kid body. As he goes on and how hard he works, he'll start feeling into his body, and then he's going to be a monster. He's going to be a monster because what makes him different and what he has that a lot of superstars have, Mark, he has confidence in who he is as a player. He wants to be great. He wants to embarrass you. He wants you to know you playing against someone who's better than you. See, when you have that kind of confidence and that kind of belief, I mean, even Billy Donovan couldn't shake his confidence. Last year, Billy, I joke about it all the time, even on the podcast. I say the best defense Modas faced last year was Billy Donovan. And I believe honestly this, had Billy played him 20 plus minutes last year, you're looking at Modas being rookie of the year, or at least being in the top 3 in rookie of the year if he'd have played in the first half, because he was getting spotty minutes. Some nights they wouldn't play him at all. And I'm a firm believer when you're a team that's not in the playoffs and you're not playing for anything, you're playing to develop. That's your mindset. Are we playing to get into playoffs and win a championship? Or is our team not where we want it right now, but we're playing to develop our younger players to be in position? Because if you look at a team like I was talking about this today to a station, you look at Houston, okay? Kevin Durant is in Phoenix. Kevin Durant, for the last 2 or 3 years, is thinking about, I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to leave here. I want to get out of Phoenix. Maybe he's not saying anything, but from afar, he's watching. He's watching the development of these younger teams. He doesn't want to go to a team where teams has rookies and first-year, second-year players. He's like, yeah, they got good players, but they're not ready right now, and I don't want to waste my last 4 or 5 years playing on a team that's developing. He's seeing Houston now the last 3 or 4 years, and their young players are now ready to go into the playoffs. They're ready to make some noise. They go from being a team in the last to a team that's battling in the Western Conference. So, and he's in Phoenix going, that's where I want to go. He had a chance to go back to Golden State and play with Steph Curry. And he's like, no, I don't want to go there. Don't send me there.
Yeah.
His choice was to go to Houston, just like his choice was to go to Brooklyn when Brooklyn had all those young players and they were winning with hard-nosed grit. He wanted to go there. Detroit's going to be in the same position. They got a bunch of young players that now are maturing, and some veteran player who's got probably 4 or 5 years left of good basketball is going, I want to get to Detroit. Get me to Detroit. They're ready to win now. They got a good fan base. They're ready to win. It's the Eastern Conference. I could be a champion. I could be in the finals every year with this team. That's where I want to go. And the Bulls are trying to position themselves to be that way too. If you got Josh Giddey in a couple of years, has led the league in assists, led the league in triple doubles. You got Modas now in year 4, who's most improved player, who's on the verge of being an all-star caliber player. Let's say Kobe White is still here. He's playing at a high level. You're not going to tell me that some veteran player in Chicago, being one of the best cities in the world to play at, you're going to tell me like a guy like a Kevin Durant type player is not going to say, hey, look, put me in Chicago. Also, I'll take less money to go play with these guys. I got a chance to win there. And that's what, AK's vision, market, that's what they're envisioning happening right now. That's what I see what's happening. That's what, if I was making decisions, that would be my mindset, is to start. We got kids right now percolating. They're little seeds right now. We planted them. Let's let them grow. Let's water them. Let's do everything we do to nurture them to become where we want them to be. And hopefully when it comes time for quality free agents, they'll want to come here. Hopefully we'll be in the draft. We'll be able to draft a kid like the kid that's playing at BYU just had 30 against Nebraska.
Yeah, Dabanza.
AJ Dabanza. I mean, he looks like a legit pro right now. I mean, if he comes out in the draft, you're talking about him the same way you're talking about Cooper Flagg right now. And AJ, the kid that's in Utah, Ace Bailey. You're talking about it like that. So this next year's draft supposedly is better than this year's draft. The kid, Darren Peterson in Kansas, is, compared to, which is hard to do. You really shouldn't compare, but they're comparing him to Kobe Bryant. His mindset and the way he approaches the game, he's a gym rat. They're comparing him to Kobe Bryant. So this is a very deep draft. You got Boozer's son that's going to come out. It's going to be a top 3 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And that kid's legit. He's legit, 6'10", 6'11", can score, rebound at all levels. So there's a ton of people coming in this draft. And like I said, people get frustrated with the Bulls. But if you saw the preseason, Mark, you had to be a little bit encouraged. As hard as it may have been to you that the Bulls didn't make the moves that you wanted them to make, you had to say, hey, look, Josh Giddey is legit. He's a good player. Modas, we're happy with the development of Modas. He's going in the right direction. The Bulls' younger players are playing well. The guys they went in and got in the throw-in, Zach Collins looks like a legit 26-year-old, 27-year-old guy that if you move from Vooch at the trade deadline, you got 2 young centers that are today's kind of centers that are stretch centers that can, shoot threes, but also give you defense and rim protection.
Preach, Reverend King, preach. It's not Sunday. It's not Sunday, but Stacey's at the pulpit today.
Mark, I try to keep people off the ledge, Mark. I'm the voice of the people, okay? I'm a man of the people. I don't want people to give up on this team. I know it's easy to do that. I know it's easy to turn your back, but our fan base is not like that. They'll get mad at you. It's like your wife. You get mad at you, don't want to talk to you for all day. But at the end of the day, you bring some flowers home and make nice with her, and then all of a sudden all is good.
Wow, he went from the pulpit to the bedroom. Stacey moving fast. Give me the hot sauce.
Come on, baby. Everybody knows that's how it goes. Everybody knows it, Mark. You're married. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I know how it goes. Yeah. All right, we're going to talk football after the break. But first, I'm going to tell you about one of our great sponsors, our good buddy, Jeff Vukovich. He'll take care of all your insurance needs, auto, home, and business. Make sure you contact Jeff. You can reach him at jeffvuk.com. That's VUK.com. The phone number 847-825-4783. So give Jeff a call. Tell him to Give Me the Hot Sauce crew sent you, and he'll make sure to take care of you for all your insurance needs. We're talking Bears next on Give Me the Hot Sauce. Hey, we've got one of the hottest teams in the NFL right here in the city of Chicago. All of a sudden, we got a city of winners. The Chicago Bears have reeled off a 4-game winning streak. First time they've done that since 2018 when they won the division and made the playoffs under Matt Nagy. And joining us now is our Bears analyst, Glenn Morgan. Glenn, what'd you make of that game yesterday? The defense was dominant for most of the game. They forced 4 turnovers again, and that and the running game were really the stories.
Yeah, definitely. I think 4s were wild yesterday. A 4th win in a row, 4 turnovers, held them to 44 yards, got 4 sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely a number bearing repeating yesterday. But, the Bears, they are finding ways to win, which is obvious. But again, I can't impress them as much in terms of just the environment they've created for themselves. And they realize they're not a finished product. You listen to the post-game interviews between the coach and Caleb, they realize they're holding themselves accountable. They're nowhere near being a finished product. And so I feel better as a Bear fan and an observer that when they go into each game, they are not going to be overconfident. They realize, you know what, the struggle is real, but we're here for it all. And that's something that is a testament to the mentality that this team is starting to create for themselves week in and week out.
Well, one of you say, you say the good thing about it is they don't come in games overconfident, right? But it seems like when they get big leads in the game, they get confident. It's like, oh, we're winning 13-0, we're winning 20-0. And I saw that again, yesterday against the Saints. It's like they gave the big plays, late in the second quarter going into halftime. That was a big play. Then you allowed them to get some momentum coming back out in the third quarter. True. That concerned me. And if that lateral play, me and Mark were just talking about it.
Yeah.
If Taysom Hill's lateral counts, you may be looking at a different situation and a different outcome in that game.
Right. Great point. I mean, they don't go into the game overconfident, but once their confidence is high, and we saw in the Minnesota game, the very first game of the season, that's a big reason why they lost that game, a bit of overconfidence
Washington,
within the game.
And now Saints. That's 3 of the 5 games that we've seen where they've had leads and they've dominated, and then all of a sudden they take their foot off the gas.
What leads to that too, and it comes across as overconfidence, but primarily these penalties. These penalties are killing the Bears because there are chances where they can extend the lead, but it's called back because of holding calls, called back because of offsides, it's called back because of something invariably that the offense has done wrong that leads to a situation where they either come away with 3 points, which could have been 7, or no points at all, and then the other team gets some momentum. And then the Bears are kind of still caught in like, man, we should have scored. Boom, big play over the top of the head, a pass, Olave, touchdown. Whoa, this is the game all of a sudden. And so
Yeah.
sometimes they create their own problems. You're shooting yourselves in the foot, basically, as it's classically is known, creating problems that shouldn't be. But the offensive penalties or the penalties in general, that's been a big issue. And again, this past game, 10 penalties, twice as many as the Saints for 3 times as many yards, 90 yards of penalties at home. Now, the next 2 games are going to be on the road. And Baltimore, they've not been very good at all this year, but they're coming off of a bye. So they're putting whatever they can together.
And they
to
get
get
Lamar
back to
Jackson
combat.
back.
And they get Lamar back. So that can be a potential issue, certainly. And then the Bengals, they looked a lot better this past Thursday with Joe Flacco. Now, granted, Flacco has been in the AFC Central or his AFC North, Central but NFC Northern Division his whole career. So he's very familiar with those teams. So that might have been a little bit of that. But Flacco with Chase and T. Higgins, that can be a problem too. So the Bears are going to have the issues going forward. I do feel good about the fact that the Ravens are not very good against the run, and the Bears have been doing a lot better running the ball. I also feel better about the fact that the Ravens are one of the worst defensive teams in terms of the pass defense in the league, and they've given up, I think, 15 touchdown passes. So the Bears have something going for them in terms of facing a team whose defense is still trying to find itself.
Yeah, Glenn, I was at the game yesterday covering post game, and I was really impressed by Caleb Williams' honesty in his post game press conference. He said, "I played poorly. It's on me. I have to be better." Yeah. I like the accountability for a second-year quarterback. And he said, once we get the passing game going, when I start playing better, we're going to be awfully tough to stop, because you consider they ran for 222 yards against the Saints, second straight 100-yard game for DeAndre Swift. The offensive line is coming together. The thing that bothered you about Caleb, he started doing that thing where he starts running around backwards like Fran Tarkenton again. It's like, come on now. We don't need to see that again. I'm sure, because Ben Johnson was pissed in his post-game conference. He was like, okay, we won, but we took major steps backwards with the penalties and with Caleb kind of regressing a little bit. What did you make of Caleb and his sincerity in saying, I got to be better?
Yeah, I think he covered that in terms of him passing the ball. Definitely, he mentioned how he missed about 5 open passes when he did his scramble, when Caleb does his Caleb thing. And he said that's on him. Those explosive plays could have actually been explosive plays if he connected. But the other thing he mentioned, I don't know if everyone caught it, the subtlety he talked about in terms of his ability with the cadence. And that's another reason why sometimes the offensive line has these snap penalties, because the cadence off there, they're still not in sync. And so you're getting these unnecessary penalties. And he took onus of that as well. So I think, just to your point, him being very mature about the problems offensively that the Bears have been having, and they have to address those things, because when you go on the road, it's going to be that much more difficult. You can't get 10 penalties at home and think you're going to go on the road and just have 2, so you have to tone that back. You've got to really work on that. And I think Ben Johnson, not putting Caleb on blast, but also not denying the fact and being very open about the fact that, yes, these are things that have to be corrected, and creating our own issues by running around and not being efficient passing the ball is something that you can tell grates on him. The lack of efficiency is something that is definitely nails on a chalkboard when it comes to Ben Johnson and how his offense should be working.
One of the things that I said, yesterday, and the Bears, takeaways and getting interceptions and fumble recoveries. Dennis Allen has been a godsend for this defense. I think a lot of people were concerned about it, switching styles or whatever. But here's a guy last night. Yesterday he plays against his former team.
Yeah.
He's been in that organization in like 15 of his 20 years as a coach.
Right.
He's been on that team. He's won a Super Bowl with Sean Payton. He gets the job. He gets the head job. They hired from within. He struggled. I think he won 18 games and 18 and 20 something. How sweet was it for him? And was there any extra motivation you think for him, for his defense to play well against his former team?
Without a doubt, if you listen to the locker room celebration, he pretty much said that. He's like, I'm happy to be here, as opposed to, he didn't say as opposed over there, but then he let that hang in. It's interesting, because as motivated as he was to win, and everyone's always motivated, but extra motivated, as you mentioned, I'm sure Spencer Rattler had a personal, thing against Caleb. Like, you took my job at Oklahoma. and and you had me on this tailspin, and I'm going to play better than you. And sometimes when you do that, you might try too hard, and you found Spencer Rattler probably holding onto the ball, trying to make a big play happen, kind of show up Caleb, in Chicago, and probably led to the forced fumble. Most definitely hit onto the ball too long, and he was careless with it when they forced a fumble. And then 2 of the 3 picks were really just bad.
Oh,
So yeah, I think Dennis Allen, he realized that. Whether players and coaches want to admit it, it's definitely within it. It's like the payback is real. People can be petty, but he got the game ball, and I think the Bears recognize that too. Just as much as Ben Johnson wants to beat the Lions, don't think for one instant that 52 thrashing we took, 52-point thrashing the Bears took week 2, that Ben Johnson's not wanting to pay back when the Bears faced the Lions in the last game of the season.
So it's at 4-2. Is this an illusion, or are you seeing steady progress? Because remember, last year the Bears were 4-2, and then they had the Hail Mary devastation in Washington D.C. and they lost 10 in a row. I don't think we're looking at that anymore. I think we have seen progress in this football team, and I think they really believe in the coaching staff. Do you see this as a steady progression throughout the year, or are you worried about some of the pitfalls that exist out there?
No, I'm going to harken back to what I said last week. It's an incremental growth. It's not something that's, if every game were like the Dallas game, that would be more of a false kind of scenario. Or if the Bears had, somehow won the Minnesota game and then they were now, 5-1, I'd be like, are we really that good? No, it's been dogfights, 25-24 the previous 2 games. And then, as Stacey mentioned, let the Saints kind of almost back into this game. Yep. So no, it's a steady progression. I think the thing that I like the most, as opposed to the previous regime, both the head coach and the quarterback, because those are the faces of the organization right now, they're talking openly about the fact that, no, I've made a mistake here. We made a mistake there. I've done this. I have to do better at that. And it's very honest. It's very candid. And it's unassuming. And I think that the team feeds off that, because authenticity means a lot amongst players in the locker room. It means definitely when it comes to the coaching staff and players. If you feel that your coaching staff is inauthentic, that they're blaming you, or they're not taking enough of the responsibility themselves, you can really lose a team before you garner their strength collectively. So I think that's what you see in the locker room. We see the reactions, and the best thing is something that probably comes across cheesy, but I promise you, each week it gets louder and louder because they know it's a mantra, and they know they haven't given their best yet, and they know they can be better. And so they're saying that, and they're doing that. And you saw the defense. The defense is ahead of the offense right now and giving you that.
Yeah.
They've created so many turnovers. They're leading the league in turnovers, 16 turnovers forced.
Mm-hmm.
Even the differential, the Bears have only given up 5 turnovers. So you're talking plus 11. That is phenomenal. That's not as really usual when you have a team that was so bad like they were the year before. And over the last, 4, just this winning streak's going on, that scenario, that's like plus 13, so I'm sorry, it's 13 turnovers they forced, and just the 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter. Guys, I want to mention the Bears have been really sound in the fourth quarter, which has helped them secure these wins in the 4-game streak that they've had. In 2 of the games, the teams haven't scored at all in the fourth quarter, and they've only given up 10 points collectively in the 4 weeks. Now, the Bears haven't scored as much as you would like to see in the fourth quarter, but they scored 21 points, but still plus 11. And those are the things you need to do to secure wins, to build, and you start stacking wins and building confidence. And so, the penalties have worked against them, but the turnovers have been a balance for those penalties.
I'll tell you what, these next 3 weeks, there's a possibility they can go 3-0, 2-1 at best. you got a Ravens team, which I think will be the toughest of the 2, because you got Lamar Jackson back. Lamar Jackson is their offense, and then when he's out there, Derrick Henry runs the ball better, because you have to account for Lamar Jackson. You don't have to account for their backup quarterbacks.
But you see this, Stacey. This has been King over the last. He's been fumbling the ball, and the Bears have forced the turnovers, baby.
You know what though? I don't worry about that so much with him. Like I said, I believe that that's an aberration. He's not a consistent fumbler. It's just something going on. But when you get Lamar Jackson back, there's some much more confidence with their team on both sides of the ball. So of the 3 games, you've got the Bengals and you got the New York Giants coming up. Okay. Mm-hmm. Joe Flacco is still Joe Flacco. Okay. I mean, the Bears are not going to allow you to throw to Jamar Chase 35 times. It's just not going to happen. They'll pick off. They're going to pick off a lot more of those passes than what that he had those 35 targets. But the Giants with Jackson Dart is playing better. They scored 30 plus points.
Yeah, all-time collapse yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. they're but he's an exciting quarterback. But I think the Bears defense will get after him. We could be looking at this team after those 3 games. They're either going to be 7-2 or they're going to be 6-3. There's no way in the world they lose two of those 3 games.
There you go, preaching against Stacey.
There's just no way in the world they're going to lose 2 of those 3 games. I just can't.
Yeah, Tyreek Stevenson's hurt. He got a shoulder injury yesterday.
Tyreek's got a shoulder, and Cole Kmet has a back. So injuries,
we don't know their status.
Injuries could be a derailing factor. That's the one thing.
Loveland's coming, baby. It's time for Loveland. It's time to give him the ball. He plays.
He's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy too, though.
Yeah, well, we need to talk to him. We need to pull him to the side. It's your opportunity now. Cole Kmet's out. It's your opportunity. Step up, big fella. We're gonna give you the ball.
We're gonna send him to you. Give him some motivation, Reverend King. All right.
You know what? I'll talk to him. You know, when they listen to me, good things happen.
Well, I'll say this. The Ravens defense is the 5th worst pass defense in the NFL. And overall, team defense-wise, they're like 4th worst. So the Bears have a situation here where they can keep Lamar on the sidelines and score, and then force the Baltimore Ravens to be more one-dimensional, which can lead into the Bears' pass ball-hawking defense. And those are things that, I know going in, that's what you want to do. It's easier said than done. But that's what they have to kind of do. And part of that ball control is not shooting yourself in the foot with the penalties. I can't emphasize enough. If the Bears lose to Baltimore, I would say 9 times out of 10 it's going to be because the penalties are going to be the thing that derails their offense and their ability to score. And that's something that the Bears have to focus 10 times more so on. And just like Caleb said, the cadence, that's going to be an issue because the Baltimore Raven fans, they can get loud, you know. And this may be, like you said, like the Ravens, they have to win this game to stay relevant. They really do. And so, back against the wall, all those, quotes that come up, all those things, they do mean something, especially with a team that has the type of pedigree that this team has had over the last several years, especially since Lamar's been a 2-time MVP.
All right, Glenn, we thank you for checking in. We're looking forward to seeing what happens next weekend in Baltimore, and we'll wrap it up next week on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Thanks, Glenn.
Yep. I promise to do my best to get better and be good at being better.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I'm still working on
it. You got to shout after a victory. Glenn Morgan.
All right, whatever.
Our Bears analyst on Gimme the Hot Sauce. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Have a great one.
Hey, if you're not watching on Chicago Sports Network or on YouTube, you're missing the fact that Stacey's adorned with his LA Dodgers hat. They made short work of the Brew Crew 4 in a row, and Shohei Ohtani. Stacey, that was the best postseason performance in the history of the sport. 3 home runs, pitched 6 scoreless innings with 10 strikeouts. The man is unbelievable.
If anybody thinks he's overpaid, you should be slapped with a hot dog. Okay? That man earns his money. Not only is he an elite pitcher, he's an elite hitter. So you got 2 superstar players in one. And, I think a lot of people got scared off when he had the Tommy John surgery. He's back. He's back to pitching, and he's a guy that can come in even on short notice. If you need him to come in and throw an inning or 2 in a clutch game, in a game, let's say a closeout game, he'll be able to do that. And, he was struggling early in that series hitting against the Brewers. He was struggling. He had a lot of strikeouts, but a good hitter is going to find a way. He's going to find a way. When they went back to Los Angeles, the mojo came back, and he punished that baseball. And, we had to listen to our old friend, the Stinger. When Milwaukee was playing good, the Stinger always had
our guy John Walsh.
John Walsh, who listens to the show, who's one of the co-founders of the show.
That's right.
He was texting me talking trash about the Brewers, and I said, "Okay, it's just early. It's early in the series. Relax." And the Dodgers manhandled them.
You know what I saw from one of the baseball insiders, John Morosi, over the past week? He said that when the season's over and free agency starts, that the Dodgers are going to go hard after Kyle Tucker. So they're going to probably steal Kyle Tucker away from the Cubs and put him in the outfield. I mean, the rich get richer. Their payroll's over $500 million, and that's why we might have a labor stoppage in baseball, because all these owners and the small market teams are going, we can't compete.
Well, that's not a personal problem. The Yankees have been doing it for years, And all of a sudden, you got some owners in Los Angeles that say, hey, we're going to take the model that New York has done and we're going to do it out here in the West. And we're going to start paying players because at the end, when you look at their payroll, you go, wow, that's a lot of money they're giving up. But you're not seeing how much money they're bringing in. When you got a winning product on the field, people want to see it. They're selling out, they're selling out their field every game. They got their own network. They're making money hand over fist, and then they're able to promote their players, and they have a way of getting that, the merchandise and stuff. So listen, that's the way it needs to go. The big market teams, there's no reason why Chicago Cubs couldn't do that. They're a big market team. They're not a small market team. Now I can see a Milwaukee, Cincinnati, those teams, not liking the way baseball's going. But these other big market cities, you have no excuse not to be in the race for these great players. You know what I'm saying? If you're spending your money right, because I do believe this, and I will say this, Mark, and we said this last week. I think the Cubs, I thought Theo Epstein probably saw the writing on the wall when he was here, that they're not gonna be in the spending. They're content with their one world championship. It took 100 and some years to get it. And their philosophy is it may not take 100 and some more years to get another one, but we're not in a hurry to get another one right now. We're going to live off this one for a while. And I think Theo Epstein was like, well, if you're not going to build a winner, I'm out of here. And he left, Yeah. So they if they were serious about winning, I thought they would have went out and got a pitcher when they had a chance to go, because that's in the playoff game. That's what you got to have pitching. Hitting comes and goes. It gets hot and cold. We've seen good pitchers in the playoff neutralize good hitting teams. We saw the Dodgers get neutralized for some games. It does happen. And if the Cubs would have went out and got some pitching, maybe who knows, maybe they're still playing.
Yeah, there was an interesting report I saw last week where they measured how much of a percentage of team revenues go back into the player payroll. The Dodgers are number one. They make over like 540 million, or maybe it's billion, I don't know what it is, but they spend like 90% of the money that they take in player salaries. The Cubs were 25th. They only spend 36% of their revenue on payroll. The White Sox were 29th, but they're in a rebuilding situation. I don't want to make excuses for them, but they're clearly rebuilding. But the Cubs, who have Wrigley Field, all those businesses around, their own network, they're making, I think I saw they're making close to $350 million, and they're spending, no, it's more than that. It's like over $500 million, and they're only spending $200 million in payroll. So they were like at 36% of their revenues go to player salaries. So they got no excuses. Like you said, Stacey, they've got the money. They just choose not to spend it.
They choose not to spend it on that. And it gives your fan base, like you're telling your fan base, one thing, you want to win, but do you really want to win? Because if you really want to win, then you're going out there and you're doing the same thing that Los Angeles is doing, New York is doing, even the Mets. The Mets are trying. The Mets go out and spend the money the wrong way. They're spending money on the wrong players. Even San Diego's tried to do it out in San Diego, but they end up losing their guys to other teams because they get outbidded. But there's no reason why teams that are in bigger markets should not be able to compete at some level when it comes to spending. You don't gotta commit $500 million to salaries, but you can get somewhere that's competitive where guys will want to come here because the contract, what you're offering here, maybe a little bit less what I'm gonna get here, but I got a chance to win here in a fun city, in a fun fan base. Who wouldn't want to pay for the Cubs and play at Wrigley Field every day?
Kyle Tucker.
Well, Kyle Tucker's like, it's not that I don't want to play here, it's that y'all don't want to pay me what I'm worth.
Yeah.
And here's the problem with that. If other players see that the Cubs are not willing to spend for their own, then they're like, I got to get out of here because we're just going to be an average, mediocre team. We're not going to ever be able to compete other than playing in a playing game, to get into the playoffs. They're not going to be able to do that. You got to be able to compete, man. And Milwaukee, whatever they're doing is working down there. They're not paying the big money for guys, but they're able to compete for whatever reason. Their team is pretty good.
Yeah, so the next time Jed Hoyer or Tom Ricketts says we don't have the money, Don't believe it. They're only spending
Trust me,
36% of their
they
total
probably were trying
revenues.
to block that article from coming out.
I'm
They
sure
didn't
they
want
would.
their fan base to see that.
I'm sure they would
Yeah,
love for their fans
yeah, man.
to
They didn't
avoid
want their
that
fan base to see how
because
much money they're making, and how much money they're spending in salaries. No, 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 no.
the,
Let's just cancel that. Let's cancel that. We don't want nobody to see that.
yeah, the cold hard truth is out there. Stacey, have you been watching Tulsa King? The new season is out with Sylvester
Yes.
Stallone. A lot of double dealing going on.
Yes,
It's been
yes.
interesting. What do you make of it? I've been enjoying it.
The Dwight is getting deeper and deeper with. He's got an argument and fight with everybody.
Yeah, he's
Now
turned
he's
into
got
a
the
tough
Dixie
guy in
mob.
season 3.
He's got the Dixie mob out there now trying to. It's like, and then he got his old mob, his old family wanting a piece of the property now because now he knows he's in the booze business and he's trying to be legit about it.
Yeah,
And like he's got war with everybody.
Yeah, the latest episode, you got Kansas City getting involved, and New York wants a piece of the pie, so they're setting up all kinds of storylines. It's been a lot of fun. It's funny, Stallone at 75, at least that's how old they say he is in the show. At times, you can see he has trouble getting his lines out,
Yeah.
So he's doing his best to have this image of this New York mafioso guy, but his health is kind of declining a little bit, but he's still doing a good job, I think, pulling off the role.
Yeah, you know what? He can get away with it too because like it's a mob guy.
Yeah.
Mob guys are not supposed to be like the smartest guys. They just only know violence and money. So he can get away with it, and it looks like that's what it is. Like if his line is flubbed up a little bit, you just think it's just part of the New York, New York's way of life. But I give him credit though, man, that he's still going at this age.
Yeah, I do too.
And he's still relevant. I mean, it'll be hard to see him in another Expendables, because he should be the expendable guy. He should be like Stallone. There's no way in the world at 70-some years old he's doing the things that he's doing.
Yeah.
I think Arnold has kind of gotten away from those action type things. He's become more of a docile type of personality in movies because it's much more believable. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You've seen great actors like Robert De Niro, play so many different roles. You go back to, Counselor, you go back to Cape Fear when he was Max Cady, the prisoner, and he was all cut up and he played that role to the fullest, Raging Bull. And now you see him as, grandpa movies. He's the old grandpa.
Yeah, he's doing comedies now.
He's doing comedies where most of his drama and, Godfather.
Right.
And so he's transitioned very nicely into different films, and I think all great actors do that. You can't be the same swashbuckling guy you were when you're 20s and 30s and 40s. It's more realistic. Just like if you saw Jason Bourne, you see like a guy like Liam Neeson. Some of his roles he played in Taken were good. But after a certain point, it's like, okay, you're not beating up these young guys anymore. Come on now. Like, you're not beating up 10 guys by yourself at 70 years old.
Yeah, your particular certain set of skills have disappeared. Yeah.
Yes, they're gone. You no longer have those skills. But you watch him anyway. Like, I watched a movie with him. He was trying to help this Indian refuge, save their land and all that.
Yeah.
He was doing his own stunts. And it was just like, come on, Liam.
Yeah.
They know what you need. You need some Tiger Balm, Bengay, a massage therapist on set. Because there's no way in the world you hanging from the mountaintop with just bare hands. You would have fell off that cliff, buddy.
A lot of stuff renewing for the fall. A lot of good shows out there. So we'll be giving you recommendations throughout the fall and winter. And
somebody just told me about a show called Task.
Yeah, I've been watching that. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah,
Mark Ruffalo, who was in the Avengers as Hulk.
Yes.
He plays an older FBI agent, and he's got these young people that are on his task force. He's got to try to nurture them along, and it's about these criminals that are robbing drug houses. So it's pretty intense. It's a good show.
Somebody just recommended it to me. I also started watching the show Monsters when they were talking about the serial killers.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen that, but I heard about it.
I'm gonna tell you, man, it's creepy.
Yeah,
it's creepy, man. Like. Because you're watching how these serial killers basically became serial killers.
Yeah,
like they're growing up and they're how they were born and raised. It's really crazy. And they do a segment on each one of them. There's like 4 of them so far, and like there's a Jeffrey Dahmer, and then there's the other one, Ed Gein.
Yeah,
He was.
Yeah.
Man, he killed his own brother. I was like, oh, this is Cain and Abel. I was like, oh Lord, and he was just really, he was like a really like skittish guy, but he had like this evil in him, man.
Yeah.
And his way his mom raised him and made him think that being around women was bad, and they were Jezebels, and don't you ever be with one, don't ever marry one, I don't ever want to see with one. He was raised like that, and it's like you can see why he's twisted.
Yeah, it's not like the Dexter series where he kills with a smile and a quip and a sarcastic comment. No, this is pure evil.
Yeah, it's pure evil. And the thing about that, Dexter's not real.
Right. It's not real at all.
These people are real. These people walked among us.
I know.
Some people were neighbors with these people. Some people
Yeah.
went to dinner with these people. They hung out with these people. And to know that, like later on, think about if you knew Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, what's that smell coming out of his apartment?
Exactly. Like, it took people all that long
Yeah.
to realize, like, hey, this is not a normal smell in here.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need to get, if you're the landlord, and if I lived on that floor, I'd be like, oh man, you gotta come here. There's something wrong going on in this house. Okay. And then you smell it for like not like days. I'm talking months.
I know. It's crazy that those guys get away with that as long as they do.
Or how about this? You see people coming in that are not coming out.
They ain't coming out, no.
So what does that what does that tell you, Mark? Most people don't want to get involved. Like, oh, I'm not getting involved. Man, if I saw a dude bringing people into a house and I never heard him come out,
yeah,
okay, that would be a little bit. Maybe I might want to sneak and call the police and say, hey, you might want to come up to apartment 18A. I think there's something going on, but you can hear from me.
All right, so you got a full service podcast today on Give Me the Hot Sauce. You got Reverend King preaching at the pulpit. You sauntered off to the bedroom, and now it's True Crime Detective.
Yes,
Stacey, you did it all today, man.
Mark, that's what we do on Give Me the Hot Sauce. We just dabble everywhere. You never know where this train's going to go. That's why you're the conductor. You get us back on track.
Yeah, and our guy Whispers is vacationing down in Fort Myers. He'll be back next week, redder than a lobster.
You know what? He's down there vacationing in a house down in Fort Myers, where he always tells me I'm welcome. Just let me know when you want to go. Get the key, go in there. And every time I seem to ask him when I want to go, he's down there.
Right.
Every time. I'm like, why would I want to go with you down there?
Yeah,
I want to go down there by myself.
Yeah, Whispers always is the king of the half invite,
Oh, it's a half invite, man. You'd be lucky if you can get even a half. Mark knows about that. Mark's never been invited to the barbecue.
That's right. I know. I'm still waiting for that invitation.
Barbecue over. How come you didn't come to the barbecue, Mark? I wasn't invited.
Yeah.
What?
Whispers,
you weren't invited.
Man, letting us down left and right.
Yeah, man. I told you. His job is up for grabs. Anybody out
That's
there
right.
want to apply?
After last week's show, he's on waivers right now.
Yeah, he's on.
I don't think anybody's claiming him either.
He's on injury reserve list right now. That's where he is right now. He's sitting on the injury reserve list after that Nick Friedel comment.
Yeah, check that episode out if you missed it.
Yeah.
Nick was great. Stacey, thanks for jumping on. I know you got a busy week ahead. Opening night at the United Center Wednesday against the Pistons, and then you guys are off to Orlando on the weekend. So hopefully the Bulls can get off to a hot start and really rev up the interest in this team this year.
Well, Bulls Nation, I'm the biggest optimist. I'm the biggest Bulls Kool-Aid drinker. Sometimes we don't have any sugar in it, but I still drink it. They're going to be much better than what people think. The only thing I said, Mark, and we said this like last we're that can derail them is injuries. And we're already got injuries right now to start the season, which sucks because I would have loved to see the Bulls come out full strength, play this young Pistons team, which is a rival.
Yeah.
And win that game, win these games at home and get off to a great start because this is an opportunity for them to get off to a great start. But thank God they've got depth, quality depth. They got some guys that can command the fort until these guys get back. And hopefully they start off with some wins this week.
Okay, so make sure to watch Stacey and Adam on Chicago Sports Network for the games coming up. And Stacey will be back in studio with Whispers next week. So until then, Stace.
Drive home safe, Chicago. Beat.
He didn't come for the massage, he came for the facial. Don't zoom on it. Does anybody know how to post videos to Facebook? There's a block party, Mike didn't get the invitation. That's a huge three. Mustard. Lonzo left alone. Sauce. Able to swerve, bend that corner. That's the last time I'm going to see it. Williams straight.